Welcome back. New York Attorney General Letitia James accusing President Trump and his family of financial fraud, including lying to lenders and insurers by overvaluing his properties. Her new civil lawsuit stating they gave false financial statements and inflated his net worth. But President Trump is firing back, calling it a political witch hunt, writing on Truth Social that he never thought this case would even happen until he saw James's, quote, really bad poll numbers. He says there are obviously assessors who assess the values of properties beyond the owners of those properties. Joining me right now is Colorado Congressman Ken Buck. He is a member of the House Judiciary Committee. And Congressman, there is this never-ending pushback from the Democrats on President Trump. What is your reaction to this lawsuit and this constant fight with the former president?
I think it further divides the country, and Joe Biden took office saying he was going to unify the country. He's done anything but unify the country. He's focused on school board, parents. He's focused on the Mar-a-Lago raid. There are so many things that are going on right now that are attacks on the right that it looks like he is politicizing the law enforcement agencies and also the state attorney generals. The activist state attorney generals are engaged in the same type of conduct.
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that the leadership at the FBI has been completely politicized. A good op-ed in the Journal recently about how Robert Mueller destroyed the FBI by putting political activists in charge and taking all the important cases at headquarters rather than having the field agents do it. Can you do anything about this in terms of the politicization of all of these agencies? It's not just the FBI, by the way.
It's not just the FBI. We saw Lois Lerner with the IRS. We've seen other agencies engaged in this conduct. Absolutely. The key to the next 2 years of Republican control in the House is to make sure that we're conducting oversight hearings. Darrell Issa from California did a great job on the Oversight and Government Reform Committee, looking into the IRS, looking into ATF with Fast and Furious, looking into the various scandals of the Obama administration. We're going to have to do the same thing now because when you have unified government, as they've had for the last 2 years, they are getting away with a lot of things that need to be exposed.
Yeah, it's a great point. I want to get your take on the immigration issue. Migrants coming into Texas. More migrant buses arrived in New York City this morning. There's been plenty of media coverage of these migrant buses in flights now. However, there's little coverage of this 24-year-old Colorado deputy killed in a hit and run by an illegal migrant who was believed to be under the influence at the time, Congressman. We haven't heard a word about this from Joe Biden and this administration, but what's your take on the ramifications of 2 million people having been apprehended at the southern border on Joe Biden's watch, and that does not include the nearly 1 million others who got away that were seen on surveillance cameras who are in this country illegally right now?
Well, first of all, my heart goes out to the family. That's my home county, and I know the sheriff very well, a very good friend, and the sheriff's office is obviously remorseful and sad about what's going on. What's too bad is this particular illegal immigrant was in the Weld County jail. He had not only entered this country illegally, but he had committed a crime. He was incarcerated. He could have been deported as someone who committed a crime in this country and wasn't, and then went on to kill a sheriff's deputy. Terribly sad and unnecessary. And that's what's really happening at the border. When you look at all the fentanyl and the human trafficking and the potential terrorists are coming across that border, it's all unnecessary. If we just stuck with President Trump's policies, continued to build the fence, finish the fence, made sure that we had enough personnel to apprehend people, deport them immediately, we wouldn't be in this type of situation.
Congressman, you are leading a group of House Republicans signing a pledge vowing to oppose the Biden administration adding 87,000 IRS agents. You put out a statement charging the administration wants to unleash the agency on regular Americans. Tell us more about this. What can be done if Republicans take power in November? Because President Biden is expecting $80 billion to go to the IRS to hire 87,000 IRS agents. He is not allocating any money toward the border, any money toward increasing border agents. So you've got 15 to 20,000 border agents versus 166,000 IRS agents in Joe Biden's world. That's what he wants.
It's what he wants, and it scares Americans, and it should be our top priority to make sure that we are defunding this huge expansion of the federal government. We just talked about how federal agencies can be politicized. If we arm the IRS to its teeth, we are going to be in a situation where everyday Americans are going to be scrutinized unfairly, not just because of their political beliefs, but also because they've been successful in business or successful in various areas. And if we allow this to happen, we are negligent as Republicans when the voters give us control of the U.S. House.
So, I mean, is Biden coming up with these ideas, or is he being directed, or what?
I don't know that Joe Biden's had an idea in years, but I do think that the Democrat Party, the socialist wing of the Democrat Party, is in control of the White House and is putting these ideas forward. If you look at every socialist country, Venezuela, Cuba, they all start with a huge police force to make sure that they have the enforcement mechanism for their large tax increases and onerous regulations. We have to make sure that that doesn't happen in this country.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. And then there's the economic failures. We are sitting on the precipice of what many people expect to be a long and deep recession. We're watching 40-year high inflation. We're going to get the jobless numbers in just a few minutes. In about a minute and a half, we'll get jobless claims for the week. But, Congressman, what should we expect in terms of the broad economy now that the Democrat policies, including all of that massive spending, has taken us to 40-year high inflation, forcing the Federal Reserve to raise rates so much that it'll take us into recession?
Well, we'll be in a recession. I agree with you. I think it will be a recession that will last more than a year. I also think that we're going to see high gas prices next year. We're going to see continued inflation. It's going to be very difficult for the Fed to bring down the growth because the federal government keeps pumping more money into the economy. So really the two are acting at odds with each other, and the result is that the American people suffer.
Do you have any thoughts on the rail agreement? Is that going to happen, or will the rail workers go on strike?
I don't know the answer to that. I certainly hope that they don't go on strike. America can't afford another supply chain issue at this point in time.
Yeah, but I mean, if we, give in to what the rail workers want, who's to say we're not going to get another striking group next week?
Oh, we will.
Yeah.
That's what happened with Afghanistan. We show weakness in Afghanistan. Russia starts to invade Ukraine.
Right.
These things are cause and effect, and unfortunately, the Biden administration is bought and owned by the unions.
Congressman, thanks very much. Congressman Ken Buck.